Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and again on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Stace Gaddy to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Always love to have Angela Robinson in studio live for more Life Planning 101. I'm Stace Gaddy. It is going to be a great show as always. Good morning, ma'am.
Oh, we have a very special show this morning. Good morning, Stace. I'm really excited about this show. I tell you what, this year, I was reading my devotional this morning, and it talks about these gifts that God gives us and how, we're supposed to use them. And today I get to talk about one of the gifts that I think that he gave me, which I'm able to use, and it's a lot of fun. This is going to be a great topic today. And also, we've got some very special giveaways to go along with it. We're going to be talking about, can you give more without it costing more?
Okay.
We do a lot of planning around charitable giving, and especially this time of year, I think it's front of mind for a lot of people, just for various reasons. And I think that's really, really important to be able to address that question, because a lot of people think it's always going to cost more. And you may be surprised to find out that it may not cost you a dime in all reality, which is kind of weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But let's talk about our giveaways before we get into the meat of the conversation today. We're going to be giving away $500 for a nonprofit of your choice to our trivia winner today. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a heads up. It's going to have to do with percentages. So make sure, hint,
get your pencil.
Make sure you write that down. The first one to answer is going to be able to have that $500 sent to the nonprofit of their choice. And we're also going to be giving away a great book, which I want to talk about a little bit later in the show. And it's for children. It's for parents about their children and creating generous kids, it's a really neat book. So
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, so that's going to go to the best question of the day, which we're really, really excited to share. Now, I do have a disclosure that I've been asked to make about this show, that we're not going to discuss specific strategies on the show. Everything will be general discussion, and the strategies discussed may not work for everybody. You need to call our office to get specific information about anything. I have to say that and precludes to some pretty incredible stories that we're going to talk about today. And I want to start out with one of my favorites. I actually, when I got into this business, I went down to Georgia and listened to a gentleman by the name of Phil Buchanan. And he's with a company called Cannon Financial. And they do a lot of what we do as far as the planning goes, and they're very big in charitable gifting. And he was telling me a story about how he actually got into the planning for charitable gifting, and I thought it was funny. And here's an advisor telling the story, okay? So you have to kind of get this in your mind, that this is supposed to be somebody that can help us. And he said his wife came home one afternoon, and she walked in the front door, and she threw down her purse, threw down her keys, and she said, "Phil, I did something today, and you are not going to get mad about it, because it's what I wanted to do." And he's kind of taken back by this, because if you have to imagine, this is the older generation. This is, this is not our baby boomers today, Generation Gen X, Gen Y. This is the older generation, when usually the man makes most of the decisions. So a little bit taken back by this. He says, "Okay, what did you do?" She said, "Well, I went to so-and-so, and we opened a private foundation that I am going to have my children and my grandchildren pick every year where the money is able to go from here on out."
Okay.
And he said, "You didn't think about coming to me first for this?"
A discussion.
She said, "No, because I didn't want it to be what you just said, discussion. Okay. I wanted to have it done. It's too important to me." And that was the culture that they had in their family, was, giving, knowing how powerful giving is. Mm-hmm. And, it was funny yesterday in church during our prayer, we were talking about how, it's all God's, right? Everything we have is God's. And giving back is so important. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that if it isn't your money, it's your time, or just your talents, being able to use what he gave you to give back in society is huge. So I think, the core of everybody is it's probably safe to assume that at one time or another in your life, you've been touched by or wanted to contribute to some good cause for something. I was watching a special with Troy Aikman last night, being the Dallas Cowboys fan that I am, and Joe Buck was interviewing him. And I didn't know this about Troy, but his sister was actually in the Oklahoma City bombing. And she is the CEO of that hospital today. But I didn't have a clue about that. And Joe asked him about that, what had happened. And Troy, right there, 6'4", Troy Aikman, Macho Man, broke down on international television. And I thought, wow, that's really really touching. And he says to this day his sister still can't talk about it. And that's how powerful it is. And I think we all, maybe not to that extreme, but we've all had something in our life that has caused us to want to contribute to a good cause. So what if I told you that it is possible to do more and it may not cost you anything? When we come back, we're going to talk about just that.
You've got my attention, as always. Angela Robinson from Kennedy Financial Services here in Eastland. You're listening to Life Planning 101, folks, if you've just joined us. I'm Stace Gaddy. We'll take a quick break and come right back. Don't touch that dial. As always, a special thanks to all of our sponsors for making our programming possible, and thank you to our listeners. If you're just joining us, this is Life Planning 101. I'm Stace Gaddy. Our resident expert from Kennedy Financial Services, Angela Robinson, in the studio, as always. Today, we're talking about, can you give more without it costing more? Again, seems counterintuitive, but I know you have answers.
Yes, and I will say, it's a really neat thing when you do planning with someone and you realize at the end of the day that you're able to leave the same amount of money, if not more, to their family and to, just their direct legacy, and still be able to give money away that they never were going to be able to give to the causes that touch their heart the most. And that's so impressive.
I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah, it is. And there are various ways to do it. And a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. A lot of people think, it's just things that you have to set in stone, and that's just the way life is, and we just got to live with it. And that is not true at all. And, the one thing that I really think I've seen more and more of is people talking when clients that we talk to, when we talk to them, is about, how do I teach my children or my grandchildren to be able to continue this legacy? How can I do that?
Especially this generation.
That's right.
I don't want to say anything, but you know what I'm saying.
That's right. And they feel the same way. Maybe I didn't know how to do it as a young parent or a grandparent, and now, time is getting serious. I've built up this big legacy that I have, and I want to pass it on to my kids, but I want to make sure that they're giving back with it as well, because that's just as important to me, and it should be to them. And that's a lot of what we do. We do what we call family planning meetings. We actually got in trouble for saying that once. They said, that just doesn't sound good,
What?
So we call them family legacy meetings, where we really go into and we try to dig for what's important to the kids and the grandkids, because not unlike your situation, it is probably safe to assume that they have at one time been touched. Their heart's been touched by something. May not be the same something that touched your heart, but something that they can give back to. And on that note, there is a great book, and we're going to be giving away this book today to the best question. And I know this show is going to spawn questions, so make sure you send them in, lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. It was written by Colleen O'Donnell and Lynn Baker, and it's called Generous Kids. And it's about helping your children experience the joy of giving starting at age 3. Yes. So it is a really wonderful book, wonderful book. And I would encourage it for any family to read, because it's just little neat things. And we've been actually implementing some of them with our son. And I tell you what, once a child gets in their heart giving and they get it, it's addictive. To see their face, to see the glow, see what happens with them. It's just a wonderful experience. So I would encourage it for anybody. But again, Generous Kids, it's a wonderful book. But let's go back to the meat of the conversation here. And I want to start, here we are at year end, okay? And we're wrapping up the year. And a lot of people call us, granted, these last couple weeks, and say, I think I'm going to owe a lot in taxes. What do I do? Okay. Well, to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of things you can do at the end of the year besides spend your money. And I heard at one time a farmer, he was telling me, he says, I'm so tired of spending money on green paint. He's talking about John Deere. So, you know, and that can be true because they know, and if you're a business owner, you know this, that when you go and buy something, you spend money, it's on a depreciating asset. So that usually means that it's going to be worth less when you go to sell it. So you're losing money by reinvesting in your business just to not pay taxes, correct? And so I want to talk to you about another strategy, and this is a really neat little strategy. And by the way, taxes are voluntary to some extent. We think they're involuntary, but they are voluntary to some extent. You know, the government does give you incentive to spend money in other ways to not pay taxes, right? So as we go towards the end of the year, I would encourage you to look into two things. There's what's called a supporting organization and a donor advised fund. Both of these vehicles would allow you to be able to put money into them this year and get the deduction this year, but you don't actually have to give the money to the charity this year, next year, 10 years from now. It can be spread out. You know, I think this is really neat.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's really neat that a lot of us say, well, would you rather a charity receive a gift one time from you and remember you once, or remember you every year, even long after you're gone? And you can use both of these different vehicles to be able to do this. And if you put in cash this year, you can actually write off up to 50% of your income. You can actually use appreciated assets. We see this with a lot of business owners that sell their businesses, or, you know, landowners that sell land, or even stock. If you have some kind of stock or mutual funds or things that have appreciated, you can actually gift those to these types of organizations, and you can write off up to 30% of your income. Those are some big numbers. So, you know, if you're having a big tax year, I would encourage you to call us. Let us be able to help you if that's something that interests you, because it doesn't necessarily, it's like an advance on your giving, okay? If you're going to give a certain amount every year anyways, but you got a bigger tax year this year, why not go ahead and fast forward that giving? Okay, so that's a great way to do it. But again, the meat of our conversation, what if I told you that it is possible to do more without it costing you anymore?
I'm all ears.
Right? So this year, we had the honor of watching this actually happen twice in a 7-figure manner. It wasn't thousands of dollars or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. It was millions of dollars that was able to go to their cause, the things that had touched our clients' hearts, and at the same time, not disinherit their children by even a dime. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It is neat. So what I will say about this is that, you know, like we mentioned before, you know, taxes are voluntary. And we call these our Uncle Sam or strategies. So you can either pay Uncle Sam or you can gift to something that really tugs at your heart, pulls at your heartstrings, so to speak. And you know, there's a lot of ways to be able to do this. And I cannot even go on a list right now to name them, all the different ways that you can do it.
Right. And if you're just joining us, you mentioned early on that this subject today was going to be general, that
That's
you
right.
couldn't give the specifics.
That's right.
So folks, you're going to need to call in to get those specifics, and I encourage you to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, one of the neat things is, and I'll give you some for instances, a lot of people don't know that they can give assets to a charity, but at the same time their family receive an income for life, not just themselves, but maybe their kids too, or their grandkids. You know, a lot of people don't realize that you can teach your kids how to gift and give it to a charity over so many years, and then it comes back to the family. A lot of people don't realize that you can set up some type of foundation or some type of donor advised fund, even on the smallest level, and name your children or your grandchildren the board of the directors, so that they get to choose every year where that money goes to. And let me tell you, that is pretty awesome when you see that happen.
That'd be fun too.
They get together and they're serious. I mean, there is a lot of serious. You know, they spend probably months in advance looking at who they want to give the money to and why they want to give it to them.
Bring their best arguments.
That's right. That is right. And you know, I tell you what, it is a culture. It is something that is going to long outlive you. In fact, I love this quote. It's by Albert Pipe. It says, "What we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others in the world remains immortal." Nice. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we're constantly thinking about ourselves, we're going to continue to pay Uncle Sam. Lose-lose situation.
Yeah, why it's not throwing away, because it pays for things.
It depends.
But why do it when it can be a win-win, like you said?
That's right. And you know, a lot of people also, I think they don't realize and we had this come up, in fact, in one of these big situations this year. The gentleman said, well, I love that idea, and I have a gifting heart. I always do this and this and this, but I hate to give money to some organization and I don't know what they're going to do with it. Isn't that always a big question of what's going to happen?
More and more so, too.
Yeah, and we have tools out there like the Charity Navigator. You can go on and you can check out and how much money goes to actually each people, in the organization, and how much is spent on administration and services, and how much is actually spent towards the cause. You can look at that and see that with our local charities. We don't necessarily have that benefit to be able to do that, but there are ways to be able, just like this gentleman who was able to give back to a hospital, and this is a neat story, a hospital that his great-grandfather and his great-grandmother came to and worked at. Both of them helped start the hospital, and now he's giving back to that hospital, and it's going to be for heart and cancer. Wow. So, yes. So when we come back, let's talk about some of the tools that are needed to be able to accomplish goals like this, and talk more about how you can give more without it costing more.
More Life Planning 101 right after this break. Welcome back in, folks. The final segment of Life Planning 101 for today's episode. I'm Stace Gaddy. Good morning again, Angela Robinson.
Good morning, and we are talking about a fun topic of conversation, and it all led with a question. What if I told you that it was possible to do more and it may not cost you anything, meaning giving to your favorite nonprofit? And we're really excited to talk about this, how we helped 2 families be able to get there this year, and each of them were able to give 7 figures to causes that were dear to their heart, while at the same time either maintaining the same amount of money that would go to their heirs, their children, their grandchildren, or increasing that amount that would go to their grandchildren and their children. So let's take these 2 families and we spoke about earlier, and I'm just going to give you some of the things that had to be in the picture for this all to take place, because here is the deal. I want you to try to find a painting in the room, or if you've got a painting or picture, if you look at it, and if you're driving, okay, don't look too long, okay? But I want you to look at all the detail that goes into that. There's a lot of detail. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every bit.
Yeah. So that same amount of detail is embedded in your life. And some of those same details are the doors for opportunity that you can open to create that charitable legacy. There is no one size fits all. I cannot give you a cookie cutter on this type of situation. But let's just take family 1 here that we worked with this year. Their plans involved Social Security, required minimum distributions from their IRA, Roth IRA conversions, income taxes, and insurance. Took all of those components, and they were able to leave behind more to their children than they would have if they wouldn't have done over 7 figures of gifting. Wow. Then we have the other family. Theirs involved a business, equipment, livestock. Yes, I'm talking about those cows and all that other kind of livestock we know dear to our heart in this area. Trust planning, income planning, estate, and income taxes. The only common denominator between these 2 was that they both desired to make a change in the world. Isn't that pretty cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the key behind all of this is just starting the conversation, right? Just getting it off the ground and getting it running, taking a look into that picture and seeing what those details are. And as we enter this holiday season, I know many of us reflect on those causes that have touched our hearts. And it's hard to say. I actually had a lady one time ask me, why do you focus so much on charitable giving around the holidays? And I said, I know that charitable giving touches my heart many times in the year when I see something or do something, but there's something about the holidays that brings out more of it. I can't explain it. I don't know why. I know that, that's what the season is all about, right? Is Jesus Christ.
God's gift to us.
And God's gift to us is giving back to others, right? But what I want you to think about is when that thought enters your mind this holiday and you wish you could do more, I want you to call us. I know the holidays are very busy, and this type of planning is not something that's going to happen overnight. It takes a while to put into motion. But if you call us, we'll go ahead and set up a visit for 2016. It puts you one step ahead of that New Year's resolution, right? So you don't even have to worry about January 1st coming, right? And, it's really important to be able to get it started early. Here's the thing that I know happens most. We get a call. This is the most often conversation. We get a call after someone sells a business or their real estate or had a big income year or retires. We always get a call afterwards. And not always, but often, almost always, it's too late to accomplish all of their goals for their legacy, for their charitable legacy, everything. On the other hand, We have never seen someone start planning too early. Never.
Right.
Okay? It just doesn't happen. So, I encourage you to go ahead and get the ball rolling, okay? Even if you think you don't have wealth, go ahead and get the ball rolling, because you may be surprised. The family that I mentioned before barely has $1 million in net worth, the first family. And they're going to be giving over $1 million away to a charity and doubling their estate to their children. I want you to think about that.
You got a call, folks.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
It takes an expert to be able to do this, too, by the way.
That's right. And that's what we do. This is our specialty. So with that, don't forget our giveaway. Make sure that you email us, lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Generous Kids is the book we're giving away to the best question that we will go over on next week's show, because this is an ongoing conversation as always. And also, we have our trivia, which we are our first winner, lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. The first winner, the first email that we get, we are going to give $500 to a nonprofit of your choice. So make sure you put that nonprofit in the email. And here is the question. Of your income this year, if you were to give cash into a donor-advised fund or to a charity directly, what % of your income can you deduct? Okay, we mentioned it earlier in the show. Oh yes. So I know, Stace, you're always listening very good. So make sure you email us.
You mentioned a couple of percentages on things, and I'm like, which one was it?
The cash deduction limit. That's what you're looking for. And you can actually cheat. I guess you could Google it. But anyway, it's worth $500 to your favorite cause, complimentary of us, Kennedy Financial Services, and we will be putting that in your name. So
that's a wonderful idea, by the way.
Yeah, well, it fits the show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it is that time of year. I know all these nonprofits count on the holiday seasons to be able to raise more money. And so, we want to definitely support our local causes as well. So we appreciate everyone listening to the show today. Again, my name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. And make sure next time you have those thoughts about wishing you could do more, you give us a call and see what we can do to help you do just that.
Great job, as always, Angela Robinson. And be sure, folks, Kennedy Financial Services, give them a call. They are the experts at financial and family legacy planning. Join us again next time for more Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through VSR Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisor and member of FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services is not owned or controlled by VSR Financial Services Incorporated.